Fellow Mountaineers, you old grads and young lads and lasses, you made it to another edition of the Trust the Beard podcast. Today we're going to break down West Virginia's loss at OU, Ohio University, 17-10 in Athens on Saturday. Good morning. It is a chilly morning here in the Mountain State, at least in my area, about 7:33 a.m. on September 8th, 2025. So we're going to break this down. A tough pill to swallow, sure. It was a tough loss, no doubt about it. Is it the worst loss we've ever had? We'll dive into that a little bit later. But first, I want to address something. And this is a from the couch moment, right? No stats, just kind of my thoughts and feelings. Me with my cup of coffee, sitting on my couch here on Monday morning. And one of the first things I want to address is whoever issued the tickets for WVU fans there in Athens. There was one little section where they did a horrible job, and that happened to be the section I was sitting in. I've posted it on social media. I'll put it up here now. This was my view at the football game. Now, I want to clarify that this wasn't my view the entire game, right? I was able to move up a little bit and see some of the game. And then around the second half, I was able to move across the stadium where some fans have either left or not showed up at all. And we were able to sit over there and watch the rest of the game. However, had a wonderful time. A lot of family came. There was about 15 of us that all got tickets. You know, OU is close to my house. It's about a 45-minute drive. I had family members that were OU alum, so they all came to. Great time. First time I ever took my kids to a Mountaineer game. We thought this would be a good one. It's pretty low-key. It's close, right? And we had a great time tailgating. Everything was good. We walk into the stadium. We're looking for our seats. And we're looking for section, I think it was 113. And we see 111. We see 112. We see 114. And we can't figure out where it is. Well, all of a sudden we realize 113 is where the band sits. Right? That's the section that I don't know if OU gave WVU that section for the band or West Virginia picked that section for the band. I'm not sure how that goes. So our seats were behind the band, and not just like a few rows up, literally one seat behind the band. I had to sit where my ticket was. I was directly behind the tubas, and they don't sit down. I asked them. I said, "Do you guys sit down?" They said, "No, we stand the whole time." And they were very nice guys. The band players, they felt bad because they were in our way, and we told them they didn't have to apologize. It's not their fault. But I was livid. I still kind of am, but I let a couple days pass, so I'm not completely ranting and raving. But I just kind of think that's a little bit Bush League. Here you have, and I don't know who's in charge of issuing these tickets. I don't know if it's WVU, OU, how it was all set up. I don't know. So if someone could clarify for that, or somebody could clarify that for me, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm kind of hoarse and I'm fighting a cold as well. Put it in the comments or share this and let me know. Because I think that was awful. Here you have a family of 15 willing to buy tickets and travel to the away game to support our team, and you put us right behind the band, specifically right behind the tubas. And so for the first quarter and a half, we had to peer through the tubas. There were some rows above us that were a little bit empty. Some people stood up against the wall so they could see, but you're still having to look over top of the tuba section. And in between plays, I had to pick up my son and put it in front of me so we could peer through the tuba so he could watch the game. If it was just me or me and my wife, I could probably get over it pretty quick because I could make do. But there was 15 of us, right? We all got together to come to this game. None of us had really been to a game together before, so we just thought it would be a fun opportunity. And, right, this is my kid's first game. And so I want him to experience it. And it sucked. I'll just say that. It sucked. As, minus the loss, it kind of sucked as far as that goes. And I don't know, again, who was in charge of that. But for future reference, maybe let the people know who are buying the ticket that you're going to be behind the band, or put the band all the way at the top of the section and let the fans sit in front of them. Yes, it's going to be loud because of the band. I could care less. I'd give my kids headphones or something. I would rather it be too loud than to not be able to watch it at all. And again, like I said, about halftime we moved to another section and we're able to watch it, but I shouldn't have to do that. There were some OU fans in the other section we went to. They were nice enough to allow us to sit there. They didn't have to, right? They didn't have to let us come over there, but they did. And so it was nice of them. But that shouldn't happen. I shouldn't have to pay money and sit behind the tuba section. So I don't know if that was an oversight. I don't know. But just for future reference, let fans know where their seats are going to be if it's behind the band. Or again, like I said, maybe not put fans in that section at all. Or if you're going to sell that section, let them be the absolute last tickets that you ever sell. Like, these are emergency tickets only, right? We were one of the first ones to buy tickets. We had tickets at least a couple months ago. And I know that there were plenty of tickets that were bought after. So somehow our seats behind the band were sold before other seats that were, in open sections where they could see the field. So I'm not sure how exactly that works. But yeah, I was a little more than disappointed. I'm a little more than disappointed now. At the time, I was livid. I was very angry. And so I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know if anyone else had that experience before, either at this OU game, if you're listening, or at another venue. But whoever was in charge of that, do better, but that was disappointing for us. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox there. I just wanted to grieve on that. I even told them, I was like, this is going in my podcast. I'm talking about this because that's unfair. That's unfair for us to have to travel, which we didn't travel far, right? But we still traveled to support the team and paid money for tickets, and we can't watch the game if we had sat there the whole time where our ticketed seats were. I just highly disappointed in that. But anyway, we're going to go to the OU game. Again, tough pill to swallow. I mean, there's nothing you can say about that. And I'll say this to WVU fans. We have gotten a lot of crap from Marshall fans and Pitt fans and all that stuff. We're just going to have to take it. This is just one of those times where you just have to suck it up and take it, because we played like crap, we looked like crap, and we lost, right? There's nothing you can defend about Saturday's game. There were some highlights, right? Some plays were made. Defense looked pretty good. But other than that, there's nothing you can say, well, this, that, and the other. You can talk about the refs and missed calls and things like that. That if the calls had went our way, maybe it changes the game, the outcome slightly. I think Tony had mentioned on his three guys game, that catch by Cam Vaughn at the end of the game that was ruled out of bounds. Let's say he makes that catch. Okay. Let's say we tie up the game and there was 3-4 minutes left in the game, something like that. Probably a little bit longer than that. But let's say we somehow squeeze one out, right? We kick a game-winning field goal. We win 20-17. Let's say that actually happened. We still have the same problems that we had. We still did not look good in that game, right? Our offense couldn't get up and running. We lost Jaheim. Our O-line was like Swiss cheese a lot of the time. Even if we won, we still have the same issues. So the loss just magnifies it, which could be a good thing, right? That might be the silver lining in all this, is that Rodriguez is going to ride them harder than he has all season about things that they need to correct. And with the Pitt game coming up, surely they're going to be locked in. But we'll see how that goes. So just a couple things I want to touch on. So the whole crowd, West Virginia invading Athens and things like that. It was a good Mountaineer crowd, but I would say it was probably still 65-35 OU fans, maybe 70-30, maybe. It definitely wasn't the 50-50 that it seemed like it was made out to be, which kind of reminds me of like the Pitt game. What was it, 2 years ago, I think, or a year ago, or the initial kickoff of the backyard brawl when we brought it back in 2022, where they said Mountaineer fans were going to invade Pitt, and it's all that. I've learned to just not pay attention to that anymore. It was still a home game for OU, and they still showed out. They did a good job. Now, the weird thing about that stadium, I would say, is it is like a glorified high school stadium. And I say that because if you grew up in West Virginia, and probably a lot of places around this area, the Appalachian region, I would say, is you go to a high school game on Friday nights, right? There's people standing along the fences, in the end zone, just hanging out on the concourse, just watching the game, chit-chatting. That's what it was like at Athens. And I was very shocked about that. Like, people just hanging out on the steps to go up to the stadium or to go up to their seats. They're just hanging out on the steps watching the game. And then when we were trying to get from one section to the other, I guess you would call it the concourse, but you can still see the field from where it was. They're just hanging out there, just watching the game, just chatting like it was a Friday night football game. And it blew my mind because we would never be able to do that at WVU. Like, you have to keep moving. Like, you can't sit on the stairs and watch, or you can't just hang out by the stadium railing and just sit there and chat and talk, right? But that's what they did. So it was a cool atmosphere. It was a nice setting, very pretty. If you're not there, you can't imagine how small their stadium is until you walk into it. So imagine Mountaineer Field. Take out the north end zone, the one that faces the hospital. Take that one completely out. Just remove that entire seating, right? It's just open. And then take the top level off of both sides. And that's kind of what their stadium was. It was think of the lower level at Mountaineer Field on the east and west side. And then I'll give you the section under the south side by the Pushcart Center. And probably a little bit smaller than that, but that kind of gives you an idea what the stadium looked like. I think the number was like 26,000. Some was the attendance record, which was a record for that stadium. So once again, Mountaineer fans have helped sell out a college football stadium, or at least a football stadium. We did it with Pitt, although there's also an NFL stadium. But another thing, Marshall showing the OU game at the end of during their game against Missouri State. They showed the game on the Jumbotron and they were cheering about it. Like, really? How sad are you? WVU does not hate Marshall, right? We kind of want them to do well. You want to see your little brother, actually not even a little brother. You want to see your step cousin do something good, right? That's fine. Like, you're kind of family that you see once a year at the reunion. Oh, cool. Little Jimmy's in tech school. Awesome. Do good. Right? That's how I view Marshall. But when they want to constantly try to rub it in our face how they're better, then that stirs the hornet's nest, right? And then I thought you didn't care about Marshall. We don't. But when you actively pull us into the fight, then yes, we are going to fight back. We're not just going to stand there and take it. But for them to show the game and cheer about it, and what's funny is then they lost to Missouri State, who was like, a first-year FBS school, and they lost 21-20. That's funny. I don't know what to tell you, Marshall. Like, we don't care about you. As much as you want us to, we don't. Okay, So next on my list, um, so some fans talking about that this is the worst loss they've ever seen. It sucked, that's for sure. Like, it wasn't a good feeling to lose to a MAC school. Not just lose to a MAC school, but just not play very well at all. That is not the worst loss. To me, the worst loss is 13-9 because of what it meant, what could have been if we won. That's the worst loss, right? The higher the ladder you climb, the harder those losses are, right? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Where are we right now to say OU was such the worst loss ever, right? We're in the first year of a rebuild in week 2, and we lost to, I would say, a pretty good MAC team, like a really good MAC team. I guarantee we're not the only P4 team that they could upset this year.
You know, we've had a lot of fun this episode. But you know what's not fun? Not subscribing to the Trust the Beard podcast. Don't pull a Darren DeVries and leave me hanging. Do the right thing. Hit that subscribe button. Like this episode. And share it with every couch-burning buddy in Mountaineer Nation. And make sure to follow me on Facebook, X, and Instagram at Earbeard.
And so it's not the worst loss. I think I ranked it, I said a 6 out of 10, right? I mean, it sucks because it was a MAC team. That's why I have it 6. But, it's not the worst loss ever. We'll get over this. If we end up winning 7 games this year, win a bowl game, let's say we somehow reach 8. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm just saying if that happens, we won't even think about this game, right? In 2 years, if we're back to where we're supposed to be, or next year, 8, 9, 10 wins, we won't even think about this game. It'll be a blip on the radar. It'll just be, hey, remember that time we lost to Ohio? Oh, yeah, that sucked. Cool, we're about to play for the Big 12 title. If that's where we are, this is a blip on the radar, okay? So, again, we got to take our lumps because we played awful, but we'll get over it. I went back and watched the clips from the RMU game I posted last week, like my last call, and I recorded the audio before I put the clips together because I didn't have the idea to do that. And so I kept watching it, and then I'm sitting there thinking, like, our O-line might have some trouble running inside. And I thought that to myself, and I didn't record it, and I probably should have, just to get it on record. But, we're going to have to be a perimeter team, I think, moving forward, at least for now. We are just not getting that push up front. And, we could really use a Jeff Mullen offense right now with bubble screens, if that's the way we're going to go. But we're just not getting that push on the O-line. And that's going to be an issue. I said before at the RMU recap, I said, nothing stood out to me as this is going to be an issue. Remember, like with the Neil Brown era, I mentioned before, Duquesne threw for like 300 some yards. And then it turns out that, our secondary was bad. Well, you saw what could be an issue against Robert Morris, right? We weren't able to run up the middle a lot. We did a lot of perimeter stuff. Well, now we saw with Ohio, we couldn't run up the middle at all, and we did a lot of perimeter stuff. So that 2 is starting to become a trend, 2 games in a row that you can't run up the middle. So this might be a major concern for the season. It's nothing that's going to get corrected immediately, right? I forget who I was listening to, and they said, you do that stuff in January through August, right? Right in the season, you're not suddenly going to get better at O-line as far as your strength and your ability. Like, you kind of are who you are. You can understand the game better. You can probably execute a little bit better, but you're not getting better players all of a sudden. Even the ones that are in there are not suddenly getting better. And so, where do we go from here? This is where coaching comes in. This is where we're going to have to game plan and try to figure out just how to keep teams off balance. And I don't know. That's why I don't get paid the millions of dollars to figure this out. I just sit on my couch and talk about it. Some other things I've seen people comment on is, we're still stuck in the Neil Brown era. Stop. Neil Brown has nothing to do with this, right? We have 81 new players. The majority of Neil Brown players are out. This has nothing to do with the Neil Brown mentality. So just forget that, right? This is 81 new players, and they all could be the right players. They really could, but it takes time to gel. And I said it before. I think I'd posted it a long time ago. I say hard edge is not a button that you push, right? It's not a pill that you take and you're just suddenly better than your opponent. Like you're stronger, you're faster, you're physically, or mentally better than your opponent, right? It's a process. You're laying a foundation. You're building the foundation for success, right? It's not just something you say, I'm hard edge now, and you just go knock people's heads off. It doesn't work like that. Although I will credit the defense. I saw some nasty hits that they were laying out there, and they were causing a lot of incomplete passes. So I will say that, silver lining about this, our defense does look legit, right? They gave us the ball 3 times in the fourth quarter, I think, third and fourth quarter. 3 straight possessions we intercepted the ball, and then forced 2 punts after that. So 5 straight possessions. OU really didn't do a whole lot with it and had to give it up. Now, our offense was so inept that we couldn't do anything. I think I saw -7 was the yardage we got from that. 0 points. But we shut them down in the second half too. We didn't allow OU to score any more. So the defense made adjustments, came out and played hard. So I'm really excited to see what they can do. And I think they're going to have to carry the water for a while, until the offense gets in rhythm, finds whatever they need to do to start executing plays better. The defense is going to have to bail us out. Man, it would be nice if just both sides worked at one time. It seems like, I don't know, over the last 20 years or so, it's always been one or the other. It's never been both, but that's kind of how football is, I guess. What else can you say? I'll mention this. I had this thought and I put it in my notes about Parker Navarro, and I'll probably get backlash about this. To me, he's an okay quarterback, and I know he ran a lot. He scrambled. He got his first downs and kept him moving. He did a good job picking up the first downs, like I said, and everything like that. Sorry, my wife called, so I had to pause the recording. But what I was saying about Navarro is he's okay quarterback. And the reason I say okay is because, despite all the good stuff he did offensively, he still gave the ball back to WVU 3 times late in the game, right? He could have blown it for OU multiple times. Lucky for him, we don't have an offense that took advantage of it. But can you imagine if he had done that and we scored each time and end up, blowing him out like 28-17 or 30-17 or something like that? Guess that wouldn't really be a blowout, but good quarterbacks don't give up the ball late in the game like that. And so for all his athletic ability offensively, he still has that issue of turning the ball over. I mean, 3 straight possessions, he threw an interception. That's not a good quarterback. I don't care if you run for 1,000 yards in a game. He put his team in danger of losing. Again, he's lucky that our offense couldn't score off of it, or else that would have cost him the game. And so, that's just kind of my thought on Parker Navarro. A good athletic guy, but as far as the QB position, I thought he was okay. And the biggest reason is because he threw 3 picks in a row. So we got a lot of stuff to figure out coming up for Pitt week. Certainly, their D line is going to be better than OU's D line potentially. I saw the opening line. I think they're favored 6.5. Pitt is on the road. So Vegas thinks it's probably going to be a hard nose. I'm going to assume that probably moves up as the week gets closer. I haven't seen the over under yet, but we'll talk about that when I preview Pitt. But as far as OU, let's just put this one away. It sucked, and as WVU fans, we're just going to have to suck it up, right? We looked bad, and we're just going to have to take our lumps. What does this mean moving forward? I like to put in perspective what the game meant overall to the season and to the program. I look at it as a bump in the road. I know a lot of people suddenly want to cry that Rich Rod was, I told you this would happen. I told you he was going to blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It's week 2. It's week 2. And I will defend Rich Rod the same way I defend Neil Brown until there's clear evidence to me that it's just not working. And so with a complete rebuild of 81 players and you're week 2 to the college season and you lose to a MAC team by 7 points on the road, it's not the end of the world. Like, there has not been a trend of us not being able to finish out games because it's week 2, right? There's still not enough data left. Now we go and beat Pitt. I think all will be forgiven. And I will say this, a lot of people are saying this is the worst loss ever. If we lose Saturday to Pitt, that's going to be worse than the OU game. I guarantee it. You will feel so much worse losing to Pitt than you will losing to OU. Because now you're back-to-back losses, so you're already putting that on top of one loss, and it's your rival, right? So this OU thing is not a big of a deal as you think it is. If you're in that camp of thinking that this is like the worst one ever, right? In this new era of college football, you're going to see a lot more of these because of the transfer portal, right? These teams can pick up players, better players than they could because maybe they have money to do so, right? And you see it a lot. You see it happening more and more often where these G5 schools are upsetting, Power 4 schools and the like. It's not as much of an anomaly as it used to be. And so we fell victim, right? And I know that was kind of our track record of not losing the G5 teams, but, you got to get bit every once in a while. And so what do we do? Do we wallow in our pity and say, woe is me, we lost to a MAC team, so this season is lost? No. You get back up, you dust yourself off, you use this as fuel to get ready for the next week. Right? There's a line out there. I'm not sure who said it. I think a former NFL coach is you can learn you can learn a line from a win, but a book from a loss. And we have plenty to learn about ourselves in this coming week. Plenty to work on, plenty to fix. And so, it's up to the players, right? The attitude and the effort are the two things they can control. And so I think Rodriguez will have him ready. I don't think that's the question. The question is the talent level. Like, are we good enough to win on Saturday? We'll have to see. I don't know. I don't like to be the one to predict these things and say, well, if we can't beat Ohio, then who can we beat? We will earn more wins as the season goes. I can guarantee that. We're not going to go 1-11. God, I hope not. I'm not going to say we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll pull it out. We'll win 7 in a row. I'm not saying that. It's going to be a rough season, right? I'll just put that. I'll make that very clear. I had 2 goals: is to beat Pitt and win a bowl, or at least get to a bowl. So that gives us a floor of 6-6. It's going to be a long season. It will be. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it and say all of a sudden the hard edge and Rodriguez is going to fix everything. But this is a bump in the road to where we want to be. this OU game. So I'm over it. I hope everyone else is over it. I was kind of over it driving home. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Right? Yeah, I don't let those things linger too long. It's not good for you. But that's all I have for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, let me know about the ticket situation where WVU put their fans next to the band and all that stuff. I don't know who's in charge of that, but let me know in the comments if you can. And remember, like, share, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all the views and all the likes you guys give me. It lets me know that I'm doing something right. I'm on to something here. So that's it for now. You guys have a good week. It's Pitt Hate Week, so make sure those if you post about Pitt, make sure it's a lowercase p always, and the ESP. Let them know, let them hear it. If you're coming to the game on Saturday, be rowdy. It's going to be a good crowd. I'm looking forward to it. I won't be there in attendance, but I will be watching on TV. So that's it for now. You guys have a good week. Goodbye. God bless. Go Ears.